Celtics obviously played a lot better than we did. I think we talked about adversity and whatever that adversity is, being able to play through it. We're going to continue to have that, particularly on the road. And we just that has to be our focus. We can't let anything kind of deter us from focusing on the things we need to do to win the game.
Welcome in, Hawks fans. Your boy Bryce is back at it again for another Bleav in Hawks podcast episode. Back with more Hawks coverage for all Hawks fans and also NBA casuals as well. So let's talk about what's on today's slate today. Bleav in Hawks. We're going to talk about Hawks loss to the Boston Celtics. Let's break down what happened there. Some encouraging things and some things obviously that are not going to be encouraging moving forward. Obviously, we got to talk about Jalen Johnson being hurt out for about a month to a month and a half, how that will impact the team. We'll also quickly recap the Hawks win over the Washington Wizards on Saturday, and then we'll preview the week ahead for the Hawks as well, as they have some pretty good teams that they have to play coming up this week. So there's a lot to actually talk about on today's episode. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Like I can say, guys, before we get into this, please, if you're watching me on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the video, show your boys some love. Appreciate all of that. If you're listening to me audio, leave a rating, leave a review, give your thoughts. Appreciate all types of feedback from you guys. And I just also appreciate you guys letting me be a part of your day. And also, shout out to Bleav Network again for giving me this platform to be able to talk about Hawks basketball with all of you as well. But let's go ahead and dive into it. So the Hawks, Sunday evening, lost to the Boston Celtics 113-103 in a game where, first, I just want to say officiating was awful. I Bleav that the NBA, because they want the full-time refs to spend more time with their families, have some of the part-time refs, some of the guys who aren't, like I said, the full-time guys. So maybe some G League refs, maybe some guys that are in development, reffing in this game. And the ref tonight, I don't know his name, struggled a lot. There were a lot of bad calls, teed up the Hawks twice in the first quarter quickly. That's not ideal, clearly. It was one of those things where you could tell. We've always talked about officiating in general, the full-time referees and how shaky that can be. And then, you bring in guys who are part-time guys, maybe reffing G League games or other games that are not the level of the NBA and dealing with the same players in the NBA. And then you're seeing that fall off. And tonight, I think we saw that. Now, I also want to preface this in saying that I am not blaming this entire game on that, but I just want to make a point on that early because I think a lot of people would agree with me. The Boston game was badly officiated. But anyway, let's get into actual basketball. So the Hawks in this game, overall, I actually think the Hawks didn't play that bad. I mean, Boston had lost two starters, clearly, but you still have Chase and Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You're probably your two best players. So you still had to go against the brunt of who they are, who've been there through it all. You still got Derek White, really, really good player. Horford, he's been there for the last couple of years, veteran guy. And then they got, some decent bench pieces. But so it was still going to be a tough matchup for this team. And obviously just playing Boston in general is viewed as a bad matchup for the Hawks usually, especially with Jalen Johnson not playing. But I actually didn't think they played that bad overall. I mean, if you look at the stats, the Hawks shot 41% from the field, so that wasn't good, which we'll get into more. But they hit 19 threes in the game. So they hit threes. Boston only made 13. So in terms of the three-point battle, Hawks won that. Free throw shooting tonight wasn't that good, only shooting 63% from the field, 12 and 19. That obviously is something the Hawks usually are pretty decent at. Tonight just wasn't good. They lost by 10. If you hit at least if you hit all of them, now it's a 3-point game, right? Also, Hawks only had 15 total assists tonight. Usually they're a little bit higher on the assists, usually in the 20s. So they clearly did not move the ball as well tonight as they've done throughout the season, which has also helped them be such an offensive juggernaut this season so far and be one of the highest rated offensive ratings and scoring teams in the game because of the fact they can move the ball because it's a more motion offense under Quinn Snyder. So tonight, Boston was able to kind of stifle that in the game, and you only got 15 assists out of it. Rebounding, I think, was the biggest story. And especially in a game against the Celtics, because when Clint Capella played, he did a pretty good job, rebounding. But in a matchup against the Boston Celtics, Clint Capella is not going to play a lot because it's just not a great matchup, especially when Porzingis is back. It's just they're going to spread him out. He's not going to be much of a threat in the paint because he'll be at the three-point line. And then also, we know what he is offensively. We know he's not the best free throw shooter. This is kind of this team, Boston, is a game. And if we played him again in the playoffs, it's a series for a guy like Onyeka Okongwu, which we'll get into more on him in a second. Because of the fact that they're just so versatile. They could switch everything. They can play different brands of basketball. And I think, Clint Capella just doesn't work well with that. Onyeka Okongwu does, which he did not play that well tonight. But the Hawks lost the rebounding battle by 15, 58-43. Boston had 18 second chance opportunities. 8 to 18 offensive rebounds. That in of itself is what has killed the Hawks in previous games as well. People have just talked about the team is small. The team is not that big, which is true. They're not a very big team. The Hawks aren't. So they usually have to gang rebound. And then even Jalen, even though he's not the biggest, he uses athleticism to help rebound in that regard. But the thing about it is, and this is why I'll get into Onyeka Okongwu, it's just the overall team aspect. If you look at the stats, if you look at the stats tonight, DeAndre Hunter had his third straight consecutive solid game. Like, he seems like he's gotten his shot back. I always said that when he injured his finger, his shot just did not work, and it didn't seem like he was. And he also wasn't taking a lot of shots. Like I said, DeAndre was only taking like 7 to 8 shots. It's hard to be a game changer like that unless you're making on like 6 out of 8 every game in that regard. He's been taking more shots. He's been getting more results. He played 40 minutes tonight, which may be more of what has to happen with Jalen Johnson out, him playing more minutes just because they don't have a lot of depth behind him that maybe is reliable. And also they just don't have a lot of fours. Trae Young had another good game today, 33 points. He's been back to the scoring Trae that we've always known and loved. It seems like he seems to be back. He seems like his shot's going again. Started off better, started off hot early, kind of was a little bit shaky as the game went on, but still finished with 33, but still had a decent game overall. DeJounte Murray really hurt us tonight. He didn't score his first field goal till the fourth quarter. And for someone who's considered the second best player on this team, that's unacceptable. You have to play better. And listen, this isn't me thinking DeJounte can't or anything like that. It's just in the grand scheme of it, DeJounte had to play better tonight for this team to have a chance. If they could just get one more player tonight to play better, they would have had a chance to beat Boston tonight. That's what I mean by I don't think the team overall played bad. They just didn't get enough contributions from certain people. He just wasn't great tonight. 0 of 6 from 3, 2 of 13 from the field. It just, for a guy who played 34 minutes, 6 points, and your second best player is just not going to cut it. And against these types of teams, against the Bostons of the world and the Sixers of the world, you have to have your best players playing well because you're not beating them by hoping the reserves can just step up. That may be able to get you a game in a series, but that's not going to help you win a series. You're going to use your stars. Trae Young played well, but DeJounte needed to play better tonight as well. And hopefully, he was the guy who was consistent when Trae was struggling. Now Trae just seems to be getting his shot. And now let's see if DeJounte can, kind of get himself back, get himself back in order. Because like I said, tonight, his performance did not really help this team at all. And they needed him tonight, and they just couldn't come up for him. Bay has been a guy, has 7 points tonight. A guy who has always been very wildly inconsistent this season. He's had some strong games. The last few games, he's actually been pretty decent. got the start today with Jalen out and just, again, struggles defensively against Boston. Clearly, they attack him. And then he didn't really give you anything offensively. His three-point shot actually hasn't been as good as it usually is. I think that's also something that is underrated because, when we traded for him last year, he was shooting over 40% from three. Over 40% from three. He was really big in terms of just what he was doing from the three-point line for us and really helped open up the offense more. This year, it hasn't been the same. It just hasn't. His career average is 36%. The season, he's shooting 36%. So it's not that he's shooting that bad, but it just feels like the consistency that we need from him right now isn't there. Because he had his best three-point shooting year last year with us in the second half of the year. He had his best year, Detroit, his rookie year, actually, with 38%. And then, like I said, so far this year, he's only given us 36%. Bay has to become more consistent, especially with Jalen out, to help ease that blow. We're going to need Jalen to kind of, not Jalen, we're going to need Shadik to kind of step up and play a little bit better. He's been good when he can get some turnovers. Obviously, he's a big, strong guy. I always am supporting him getting to the rim, getting and ones. That's something that seems to have gotten him into these games before. If the shot from the outside isn't going, is that he can get inside, get a foul, and is strong enough to finish plays and finish at the rim. So, I think for him too, I would love to see Bay take more free throws as well. I think he could be a reason he can shoot free throws. I think he needs to maybe look at trying to draw more fouls, because that's something he can do as well with his stature. So I think that Bay needs to figure out, you're going to be the guy, how you can be effective, because they're going to need him. They're going to need him. Simple as that. And like I said, Clint Capella, he's just not a good matchup for the Celtics. He only played 21 minutes tonight. That's pretty much what you probably are going to get from Clint Capella against Boston. Is if he could get you about 8 to 10 boards in those 20 minutes, you're satisfied. You're not really expecting much else from him against this team. Realistically, you're not expecting a lot. He's on the bench now. Bogdanovich, another great game, 23 points. He was solid tonight, 7 rebounds. Bogdanovich has been great during this stretch of games. Even during the losing streak, he was scoring the ball. We saw it in the FIFA tournament this past offseason, and we're seeing it now. He has a green light. He's had some nights where he didn't shoot as well, but he shoots it. He definitely does what Quinn Snyder wants the team to do: have a green light, shoot, go, because he is capable of, when he gets on track, he can light it up, and he lit it up. He had 7 threes tonight. 7 threes just from him alone. So, because I said the Hawks had 19 threes tonight. Trey, Hunter, and Bogey all combined for 18 of those. 18 of those threes came from 3 players, which is the further issue of just not getting enough support from other guys. But he had a big night tonight. Bogdanovich, always reliable, always consistent. Onyeka Okongwu, he's a guy who really had a bad – he didn't have a good night tonight. He was out-efforted, out-rebounded, out-hustled by Al Horford tonight, which is unexcusable for him. We need more from Onyeka Okongwu. This was Onyeka Okongwu's chance to really kind of, really make an impression. Because these are the types of teams that he will probably be like, Onyeka, we need you out there against them. And he didn't show up tonight. And Onyeka's been very inconsistent this season as well, which has been a big theme of this season for this entire Hawks team, is inconsistency. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. They're trying to develop those habits of consistency under Quinn Snyder. But Onyeka didn't have a good game tonight. He was completely a non-factor in a game where this could have been a really good game for him to make an impact. Again, him or DeJounte had a good game tonight, we could have beat Boston tonight. And we didn't get a good game from either one of those players. Not anything close. So I know a lot of people mentioned on Twitter, social, about Onyeka's play as well. We just got to get more out of him. I mean, I don't know if it's more running things for him. I don't know if it's trying to maybe have him shoot more. I don't know why I don't know if he just didn't have energy tonight. I don't know why he wouldn't have had energy tonight. I mean, no, I know we played a back-to-back, but I mean, Onyeka, I don't think he should have tired legs. I mean, I don't know. But listen, the NBA season, man, is a grind. Like, players have said, man, traveling, doing all the stuff they do, it wears on you more than you think, than the average fan thinks. So it's like, yeah, we had a great game, then you got to fly. Remember, you're flying. Even though it's first class, you're flying. You're still, that you got to take about the air miles, jet lag and all that. Come back, play another 48-minute game. Like, I mean, some nights you ain't gonna have it. And maybe that was that for Onyeka, but we needed him tonight because he's gonna have to be like the main force at that center position against a team like the Boston Celtics. If the Hawks, if they played him in a playoff series, they're gonna even have a chance against them. He has to play better. So Onyeka has to give us more. Now, in terms of the rotation, tonight you saw AJ Griffin come off the bench early. And you also saw Wesley Matthews. This is probably going to be the rotation moving forward. You might see some Garrison Matthews in there as well from time to time. If this is how this is going to go with AJ did not make score at all tonight. 0 of 5 for the field, had 4 rebounds and assists. I actually didn't play that terribly defensively tonight. Made some good rotations and stuff like that. Got him credit for that, but this is going to be AJ's opportunity, and this is going to be AJ's chance to show Quinn that he deserves that knife spot more consistently when Jalen comes back. Like, he has to. This is his chance. He played. Listen, he didn't play a lot of minutes tonight overall, right? He didn't play. I remember DeAndre had to play 40 minutes tonight. Which realistically, if you're Quinn, you don't want DeAndre playing 40 minutes. Like, you really don't want to do that this early in the regular season. You're going to need guys like AJ Griffin to step up because he's going to have to play that 3. So when they move DeAndre to the 4, you have someone who can play that. And him and Wesley. AJ has to, show up. And kind of, people have been asking for AJ all season. When is AJ going to play? Why is he not playing? And why does he not trust him? Listen, this is AJ's opportunity. You got 4 to 6 weeks to show him that you deserve to be in the rotation firmly when Jalen gets back. If you give us nights like tonight, that's going to justify him not playing you. Because, like I said, if DeAndre Hunter has to play 40 minutes a night, then obviously that also could be affected by Bay. And then also DeAndre played well tonight. So those things can also impact why he played 40. But, I mean, if you're not getting anything from AJ, it's like you're not giving me a reason to keep you in the game. And so this is like I said, AJ's opportunity to show that and to really show Quinn Snyder that he's ready to be a part of what this team wants to be overall. So he's going to take advantage of these opportunities because he's going to get them now. Because literally he has to. I mean, it's hard to not play him. I mean, yeah, you could play Garrison Matthews and Wesley Matthews, and there may be a night they go with that and don't play AJ. Maybe. I'm not going to throw that out as a potential possibility. But but he came off the bench quickly because listen, they need a backup 3. When Bay and Hunter in the game, when Bay goes to the bench, Hunter goes to 4, you need a backup 3, AJ stepping in. Same thing. If Hunter goes to the bench, you may move. I mean, Bay's already a 4. You need to have Hunter's replacement. You bring in AJ. And obviously, in terms of Wesley Matthews, I mean, he's not a guy who's going to light up the scoreboard anymore. You just need him to hit a couple of 3s, 2-3 threes a game. If you get that out of him and get some solid defense, I mean, you're pretty much satisfied. Same thing with Garrison Matthews. Hit a couple of 3s, get some solid defense. You're pretty happy with that. So, I mean, overall, like I said, in this game, the Hawks, I don't feel like played terribly, but they just didn't get the players that they needed in a game against this team did not play well. And that's what made them lose this game, especially in a game where Boston didn't have their full guys either. So if Hawks end up back at 500 because of that, tough, but that's how it is. So obviously, you get back to the drawing board and you try to figure it out. You play this team 3 more times, and we'll see what the second matchup looks like. Obviously, so we'll have to see how all of that ends up going for this team. So now let's talk about Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson reported out 4 to 6 weeks. Doesn't have a fracture, luckily. It's not broken. He'll be reevaluated, they said, in about 3 to 4 weeks, probably for big loss for the team. I mean, he was emerging as a two-way star. He was emerging as, potentially the third star for this team. A guy who could do it on both ends. A guy who I feel like he's our explosive player. Can dunk, chase down block, play complete, he can defend other teams' best players. He's been shooting great from 3. I think they said he's shooting 40%. That's incredible for a guy who struggled from 3 last year. The strides he's made, 3-point shooting wise, has been big for this team. I mean, he was really emerging into a guy who was also in the most improved player of the year running as well. I mean, Jalen's going to be a big loss. What the Hawks have to do while he's hurt is they're going to have to rely on the offense a little bit more, which is, something that you could say they've already been doing anyway, but especially now, they're going to have to, really rely on offense to get them over the hump. Because, obviously, I know defensively they were still having struggles anyway, with Jalen, but he did some things well and helped them do some other things that, were crucial. Now you don't have him, and you're losing a guy who could get you 15 to 20 a night, and also give you good defense. So guys like Bay, guys like AJ, like I said, guys like Wesley, guys like, DeAndre all have to kind of step up in his absence to kind of fill that gap that he's left. So, hopefully, like I said, best case scenario is that he's only out 4 weeks. He can get back on the court. Obviously, we'll see how the Hawks want to handle it. Wrist injuries are kind of different to view, I would say, because it's more about the player's comfortability and pain. If he's still experiencing pain, you probably don't want to play him. If he doesn't feel any pain and, listen, luckily, I Bleav it's not his shooting hand, or it's not his shooting hand. So it's, in terms of that, that's more of just, are you experiencing pain? Do you feel fine? Do you have flexibility in it? Can you use it? Okay, cool. If it's your shooting hand, now it's like, can you shoot? Do you feel comfortable? Does it feel weird? Actually that's affected, that like you actually scoring the ball is affected by that. You just want to make sure, okay, is it fine? Is it healthy? Is it safe? Are you good to go? If he's good, he'll be back. If not, we'll see. But 4 to 6 weeks is probably a good range. Obviously, I know the play that he got injured on the fast break with Kyle Kuzma defending it. A lot of people were upset about Kuzma's being aggressive there. They said you weren't going to get the block. Why would you even try to contest that? People were making jokes like, or in a way of like, listen, y'all don't play defense. Why y'all trying to play defense there? So obviously that was tough, losing him. And like I said, Hawks are going to have to kind of figure out how to, maintain without him. Because you also are now entering a stretch of your schedule that you're not playing super duper easy teams. You're playing some pretty good teams coming up. And you're going to have to make it without him for a month, which could be good for this team, because if you can make it without him for a month, that makes you feel like, okay, it's like we're playing better basketball. Jalen's coming back. All right, maybe the team can start really picking up here. But if the team struggles a lot while Jalen Johnson is gone, that is a sign of, especially when there's a lack of depth at the 4 and 3, probably tells the front office we need to improve some depth there. And we'll see what that consists of. We'll see what a potential move could consist of in that situation. So something that to keep an eye on, like I said, sucks for Jalen. He's been a breakout candidate for most improved player. he seems like he might develop into he should develop into a star. And the biggest thing with him, I've always said, is he doesn't even know how good he really is. It's one of those guys who's like, he doesn't realize you really could be like him if you really just put in the work and grind and put your head into it. You could become a game-changing player. That's the type of skill set that Jalen Johnson has. So, like I said, sucks that he's hurt. Wish him a healthy recovery. Wish him a quick recovery. And, you know, we'll see how this Hawks team does, you know, without him. And speaking of what's coming up, the week ahead for the Hawks, they play their final in-season tournament game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Hawks are not officially eliminated, but they pretty much need to win and then have like 5 other teams lose for them to even get into the next round, which is unlikely, you know. Cleveland is 9-8. They won tonight. Obviously, a team that, you know, has given the Hawks some issues in the past. You're in Cleveland for that game too, so I mean, you want to try to get back and win that game, and you know, get back over 500 again. So you're trying to get ready for that last in-season tournament game. Then you got the Spurs on Thursday. Hawks get to see Victor Wembanyama for the first time. We'll see how that'll be an interesting matchup against our bigs with him, just knowing the type of player he is, and just against the Spurs in general. Not really doing that great this year. 3-14, one of the worst teams in the league, which is to be expected. But you know, a team that, you know, if you don't play well, they can beat you. They like to play with a lot of pace, which obviously the Hawks are top 5 in pace of play anyway. So that probably fits more into that game, but I wouldn't be surprised if that potentially could be even a high-scoring game as well. Then this Saturday, they got the Milwaukee Bucks coming into town. Obviously, the Bucks, you know, looking to, you know, get some revenge for what happened when they were in Milwaukee last time. Hawks go back to Milwaukee this time. And, you know, Bucks are playing much better basketball than they did when we played them the first time earlier this season, which gave the Hawks their first win of the season. So, you know, obviously that will be a game to keep an eye on. And then that following Monday, you'll play the defending champion Denver Nuggets. So, like I said, not an easy stretch of games, maybe outside of San Antonio coming up for this team. Without Jalen Johnson, we'll have to see how this team responds and see how they do without him and everything like that. And then, like I said, I forgot to almost do this. Quickly recap Washington Wizards game. Pretty much Hawks dominated that game from start to finish. Washington, they're not a good team. They don't defend. They're not a good just team overall. They had injuries. Jordan Poole was out that game. The crowd was extremely lifeless that game. If you watched the game live, you knew how lifeless that crowd was. Definitely seems like a pretty dead franchise right now in Washington. So I hate it for the fans, and I hate it for certain players on that team. But they just that third quarter of the Hawks really blew it wide open, never looked back, and you could just tell like it's just was like, yeah, you just feel the energy from the Wizards. They weren't motivated, they weren't driven, their desire was not high. It's one of those things, man, where it was just like you could tell like the Hawks should probably be able to handle this, and they did, and they were able to do that. So that was big for them to get that win over them and just be able to, you know, just get back over 500 when they won that game. So 2-0 in the season series against the Wizards this year, which is good, and which the Hawks took care of business in that game. But overall, like I said, 8-8 right now. Got Cleveland coming up Tuesday. Big week for the Hawks. Let's see how they respond. Right now, 0-1 without Jalen Johnson, but I don't feel like they played terribly tonight. They just didn't get good performances from key guys. And we'll see if they'll bounce back this Tuesday. Obviously, I'll keep you guys covered here on Bleav in Hawks. You know, I'll try to stay on top of that for you guys. Like I say, guys, before I go, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, please. Appreciate you. All the love and support that you guys give me, drive me every day to continue to give you the content that we, the Hawks fans, want. And it just, you know, just love you guys for sure. So, like I said, it's your boy Bryce Lewis, man. We'll see you next time. It's Bleav in Hawks podcast.